All right, so like let's get started with the not the Mendoza line, the Miyagi line is what we came up with.
Yeah, the Miyagi Line.
Because it's movies, and everybody knows the crane kick sucks. So actually, let me explain it to anybody who missed our episode where we got into it, guys. So this is a Dan completely an idea, and I think it's fantastic. And we'll explain the Mendoza line in a second because it's more towards sports. But we have made the Miyagi line. Now, Dan, I'm going to let you.
Okay, so the Mendoza line in baseball. The best way to explain it is an absolutely average hitter. Okay, so take all things considered. They figured out every season essentially that the average hitter should be able to average around 220. And that's the Mendoza line. It kind of flexes up or down in any given year, but it's essentially the statistical average batter in baseball. And they call it the Mendoza line because it's named after a player whose last name is Mendoza. And he stayed in Major League Baseball for like 15 years, constantly hit this, and was just a good fielder. So it's the statistical average player. And so my suggestion to you, and after thinking about it a lot, I really like calling it the Miyagi line because I do think if you take all three Karate Kid movies, put them together, you have an average franchise, like statistical average franchise. So I like the idea of the Miyagi line being what the Mendoza line is to baseball.
I love it. So what's a 220 average in movies, do you think?
That's right. So to me, a 220 average in movies would be a movie that, to put it as generally as possible, is watchable. Okay. So you would sit down and watch this movie without a whole lot of offensive complaint, and maybe it's not the greatest, it's not even a good movie, but it's a movie that is watchable. And when you finish it, you're like, yeah, it was okay, or it was watchable, or and so to me, in terms of a film, maybe it doesn't have, you have a couple ways to reach this. I feel like maybe everything is done averagely. So like I think about like a Michael Bay film, right? Everything is done watchably. It is created for the most number of people to watch it, right? Inoffensive, all of this stuff, like
that was a good one, but
that's a good one.
Could you turn me off too? Chris is here.
So you have that averageness, right?
What's up, fellas?
What's up? And then the other version,
Miyagi line for movies for us right now.
Commenting. Make this live. I have so many
it's live right now.
Oh.
You're not commenting.
Literally live right now.
What?
And then the other side really is maybe you have something that is really good in one category, but really bad in enough other categories that it pulls it to being average. And I would think about, something like, what is a great? I'm trying to think of a great example of this.
I think Miyagi, the Karate Kid's a good example.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean,
it's a well done movie and it's so great and we love it, but that fucking crane kick ruins a lot of it for me. It is
it's a penalty. It's a penalty. It should be a penalty,
right? It should have been. He should have been. Let's face facts, because kick to the head, or any type of strike to the head was illegal.
Yeah,
he kicked him in the face, and for some reason, I think they forgot in that time of the fight when they explained the rules in the beginning to the end. They think we forgot or something. I get it.
They forgot.
Danielson got a lot of black eyes in that movie, but doesn't mean he can break the rules. I love the Miyagi line. I love when you explain this to me. I've been so excited to sit and talk about it. We're going to talk about film fans tonight. So I have one I want to throw out your way, and that is Big Trouble in Little China. I love the Miyagi line. I think it's the right amount of campy.
Okay.
It's the right amount of craziness, for a movie, but still makes sense and tells a good story that you really enjoy and it's characters we love. So I think let's face facts, out of all the John Carpenter movies, that's the most zany and all over the place. And that's saying something because he made Ghost of Mars too, which is it was a really well done.
Ghost of Mars is pretty batshit crazy. Like,
so for me, I think that passes the Miyagi line because of I think nostalgia helps it. Kurt Russell definitely helps it, and John Carpenter. But
so you don't think it's average? You would put it above the Miyagi line?
I would put that. I think that movie stands above. Personally, what do you say, Chris?
I really enjoy the Trouble in Little China. It has a crazy cult following. But there's something about Karate Kid, and it's the effect of Karate Kid. That's that unexplainable thing. It's almost like love. You can't truly comprehend love, but the love for Karate Kid is also one of those things you can't truly comprehend.
True. I guess cult classics really fall in that line. Dan, for you with the Miyagi line, where would cult classics fall into? Like
this is hard because you got to like you and I talked about this. The whole point, Chris, is to develop something that you can compare to, because too often in films, what we were talking about is people don't compare something to, if it's good, they don't compare something to something that's like just kind of average. They compare it to something terrible.
Right. Either the one extreme on one side or
Which
the extreme on the other side.
That is a bad method of evaluating anything, because if you look at data, those things are like, so, okay, I'm never going to compare a movie to The Godfather Part 2. I'm never going to compare a movie to The Godfather Part 2. It's a masterpiece from start to finish. It's well crafted. The script is phenomenal. It's well acted. Like, you know, I'm not going to take, not even like, there's just this whole host of movies. I just put them, Mick and I have talked about this. I put it in a category of its own. S-Class, right? I would put Jurassic World below the Mendoza line.
I would put everything except for Jurassic Park below the Mendoza.
Like I
like them, but they're not.
Yeah, we got to say Miyagi because like it's other people don't.
Miyagi line.
I was like, wait, what's the Mendoza line?
Sorry, yeah. I think
dinos are always great, but fascinating. I love it.
The movie that originally came to mind for me with this wasn't necessarily the Karate Kid trilogy, because there is the nostalgia. But if you remove the nostalgia, Mick's right. If you remove the nostalgia, first of all, that first movie is sad. Yeah. As a young man, I didn't realize how sad it was. If I watch that as an adult now, I'm like, wow, this is a sad movie.
Wait, which movie?
The first Karate Kid.
Sad? You think it's sad? I mean, I think it's pretty chilling because how much they go after him, but
I get choked up about Mr. Miyagi.
That's where this movie belongs. That's the Miyagi line, because he gives such a brilliant. You could win an Oscar if they weren't racist at the time performance.
Yeah,
you know.
But meanwhile, you have this like worse Rocky story, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky is 100% above.
Oh, Rocky's great. I'm just saying, like, Danielson is worse Rocky. Like,
I want to hear from both of you on this. All right, Dan, you first, then Chris. I'm going to say a Rocky movie. You tell me above or below. Okay? We've established Rocky.
This is good. I feel like the Rocky franchise is a good examination of the Miyagi line. So yeah, I'm into this.
So this is how we're going to stretch it. This is how we're going to really analyze the Miyagi line. Rocky 2.
Above
for me. Chris, what about you?
Above
for me, because I think it's a better version of Rocky with the win in the end. It's basically the same thing.
I like it. I put it above,
but the win.
Apollo Creed goes beyond being a villain in it. That's why I put it above.
Very true. Yep. Rocky 3.
Below.
Okay.
And I love that movie. I love it. But do not come for me, people. I love Rocky 3.
I love Rocky 3.
Dolph Lundgren?
That's
no, it's Clubber Lang.
Mr. T is 3.
Yeah. Clubber Lang, Mr. T. Ooh.
I love Rocky 3, but it is not an average film. It is a below average. It's corny.
Yeah, I would probably give it like a 4 or 5.
So below the line then.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go with that too. Here's where it's going to get interesting. Rocky 4.
Below.
Wow, I was not.
I love that film. I like Jason. Don't come. I love Rocky 4. I love Rocky 4, but it's just bad shit crazy. It is bad shit crazy. The plot, So the plot alone is just bonkers. First of all, honestly, the flow of shots doesn't make sense. When you're crafting the script, why is the first part so slow and the second part so fast? And there's no real middle to that film. There's no middle to that film.
I love Rocky. Oh, every Rocky movie. 4's great. And Chris, I want to hear what yours is, but I just want to point out, I love them all. But that movie, the best part is the music, and it belongs below the line for me. So I might have to break your face.
I sent you the picture, Nick. If you want to throw it up there at any point, I sent you the picture.
Chris, what do you got?
I got the above. That's the one of the ones that always sticks in my head, and that's one of the ones that, like, to me, even though it has its flaws, again, I just hold it in higher regard, despite that. It's one of those unexplainable things.
Okay, I love it. That's fine. I mean, listen, we all have different opinions, and that's the best part. I'm going to ask, Rocky 5. Do we even have to?
It's below.
3, 4 are under.
It's below, but it's not as far below as I think a lot of people would rate it.
I think out of the entire franchise, that's the farthest below for me.
Yeah, it is. It's the lowest, but people will talk about that as one of the worst films of all time, and I disagree. I
don't get it.
No, I don't think it's the worst. What do you think?
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair movie. It is below the line for this exercise here, but in retrospect of the entire series, it's fair. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's kind of just right under average. I would put that.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like where you're coming from, and I like the explanations too.
That's a great franchise to use it to examine too.
Because we're not done. We still have Rocky Balboa and 3 after that. So Rocky Balboa. I'm above the line on Rocky Balboa.
Way above. Rocky Balboa is the best in the franchise. I know Rocky won the award, all that stuff. Rocky Balboa is a phenomenal film, and not just because it was like a return to one of my favorite parts of the series or anything like that. Rocky Balboa is it develops Rocky as a sympathetic character, which does not happen since 1. It introduces this idea of aging, which I think is huge. I love the introduction of Mason Dixon as his like foil. I think that's a great way to put it, because Mason Dixon was, essentially he's young. The boxer from 1 and 2. Oh shoot. Apollo. He's young Apollo. Yeah. Like I love the contrast of characters in that film and the development of it, and the speech that he gives to his son is something that I have said to students many times in my life. And I think it is the greatest advice that a person can give. It's not about how hard you can get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going. And like, even removing nostalgia from the film, I think it is well crafted from beginning to end. The original version had Rocky losing straight out the match. And I think that the choosing to go the ending where it goes to them just standing in the middle of the ring, throwing punches, and then the bell ringing and the decision going to Mason Dixon, I think was great, because it's this callback to the first one. And I think it's a better film. I think it's a better film than the original. I put it, if the original to me would be like a third tier movie, like a B to an A, I put it directly at an A. It is an A film.
Here's my argument for you. And Chris, I do not mean to interject on you, but I need to make an argument to put Dan. So I love Rocky Balboa. It's if I'm not counting the Creed movies, out of the Rocky story, it's my second favorite behind Rocky. And here's why I disagree with what you're saying, because the impact of that movie solely rests on what Rocky was and how iconic that movie is. And if it doesn't exist, then you get something like that other boxing movie he and De Niro did, Grudge Match, that just is old people boxing and it sucks. You got to give Rocky the upper hand first on this, because he's a southpaw. So shut up.
I boxed southpaw. That's how I boxed, even though I'm right-handed. Like, Chris, what do you think? Above?
I mean, It's definitely above. There's no way to contest it. I mean, if I was reviewing the movie, I'd probably give it somewhere around 8. I'd give the original a 7.5. It depends on my day on which one I would flip flop. Honestly, I'd probably change another day if you said it. You know what I mean? But it all depends. But at that point,
I gave a convincing argument, right? It's because I didn't like.
No, I mean, but you give great points, you know what I mean? And it's all the things that really does make a great movie, and the way it's shot and put together to loop stories back and bring back generational thing to help bring it to the masses of the new modern audiences as well. But then kind of shows you that even like all along, this Rocky isn't really a story really truly just about Rocky. It's about this other situation. It's about his nemesis, right? We all got a nemesis, or we all have
Things in
someone
the
we compete
basement.
with. Yeah,
He says it. There's still stuff in the basement.
Yep.
Knock it out. That's right. I love it. So okay, let's move on because there's 3 more, and I'm counting them because he's in them.
Okay.
Why isn't 2? Creed above for me.
Yeah. Above.
Yeah.
It's well crafted. It's well crafted. I didn't. I don't know. So there are some parts that I'm kind of like, meh, but like it's above. I mean, it's above. Like it was just really hard for me at certain parts with his girlfriend to stay engaged with it. I'm trying to remember the actress's name, Mick, and I can't.
Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, it was hard for me to stay engaged in that part of his story. It wasn't like I just was like I get why with the original it's a love story, right? Yeah. Like I get why it's introduced, but how they did it, I would have preferred the Apollo or like to be. I would have preferred it to the first one to just be about Rocky and his son,
right?
Yeah.
And then the sequel, it's like, oh, he's has a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just felt like it was a little. It also kind of put Rocky against her to a certain extent, and I didn't love that.
Right.
Like I don't know. There were just individual moments that keeps it for me right around like Rocky 2 level.
Okay.
Like, they're just individual nitpicky things that are just preference based, honestly. But